Welcome back to the Eye in the Sky. Now, I know it's been a while, but we got to get back on this horse. Right now, we're going to cover sacks 25 through 38 of last year's regular season. It's a little bit of a run versus AFC teams, so let's see how Brian Flores and his defense reacts. Now, the Vikings defense came up with 3 sacks in this game, but the crazy part is sack number 1 didn't come until 2 minutes and 5 seconds left to go in the fourth quarter. By this time, the Vikings had a multiple score lead. So these are examples of sacks that weren't created by funky looks and pass rush stunts and doing different things, zero blitzing. These were 4-man rushes. You're playing coverage behind it because you just don't want the offense to score quickly, get a big play in. And really, this is the first time all year that we've seen that. Most of the time, pressure has been created through different looks and different things. So why don't we dig into this play, find out what happened? Well, from a coverage standpoint, as we always like to look at what the quarterback sees before the snap, he's not quite sure, sort of like middle close, middle open, not really 100% sure. But once this ball is snapped, keep an eye on Harrison Smith. He's going to rob the middle of this field for any kind of crossers, going across the middle. This is 3 wide receivers on the opposite side, so he's going to keep his eyes over there. And as this play develops, there are some opportunities, I think, as you look down the field, mainly right about here. You're seeing this receiver running this deep over. He's starting to come open over there. And I think the priority was this dig, but Josh Metellus kind of hanging underneath. So really nowhere to go. And we look toward the backfield. Quarterback's already on his back. So good job in coverage. So why don't we take a look at the end zone and see what this pass rush, again, we're generating sacks with the 4-man rush. And I think there's a lot here to be excited about, mainly Jonathan GREENARD. Now, this is why you pay GREENARD a lot of money. You don't need to send extra people. You don't have to do anything fancy. This guy's going to figure it out. And he's a smart pass rusher. How do I know? Well, as this play develops, when this ball is snapped, you're going to see what? You're going to see the running back, Taylor, take a step this direction, and he can see that. What does that mean? That just means he's here to chip. So therefore, this outside pass rush is closed. You're not, if you want to race and get yourself up the field, you're going to get yourself knocked out by this running back. So what does GREENARD do? Takes a couple steps up and does that spin move underneath, and it's a beautiful spin move. This tackle should have a little bit more in the way of awareness by just because of the fact that he knows he's getting running back help his way, and odds are this guy's going to bull rush or come underneath. But look at that spin move underneath, keeps going and gets to Flacco. And I do also think you watch the other side of this play with Dallas Turner and watch what he's able to do over here one-on-one against this offensive tackle. You see him do a little bit of a stutter step. What is that for? That's to get this lineman to base up and to settle up. And what I love is just as he makes contact, his body's in a straight line, hands are low, pads are low, and watch this offensive tackle as he tries to get a foot in the ground. Now he's getting pushed. Look at that, 2 feet in the air. So Dallas Turner's able to take him really completely off of his feet. Bodes well for the young man. We saw it in college. He has power. He just has to continue to develop that, know when to use it. Doesn't need it here because GREENARD's getting to the quarterback, but also a great job by Dallas Turner getting in there. And we had 2 guys meeting themselves at the quarterback. Now, what you don't see is the 2-minute warning, 2-minute warning for the Colts, and they get the timeout and they figure out what they're going to do. They actually come up with a pretty good play here. And at this point in the game, the Vikings are playing prevent. They're trying to give it that, Tampa 2 kind of look with 3 safeties deep. However, at the snap of the football, once again, we're starting to see, Harrison Smith, and what he's really just one of his better abilities just to rob the middle of the field. So we talk about Harrison Smith coming back. He's got to be 500 years old by now. He can do this. He's smart. He can rob the middle of the field, do those kinds of things. So I still see him being a productive part of this defense. The Colts actually come up with a pretty good play here. So watch those 2 receivers on top, because right about here, they're getting bunched up. The Vikings are kind of declaring what they're doing. You have a deep middle safety, corner, corner up top. They run the switch route, and it's one of the hardest routes to cover in 3 deep. And what a switch route is basically this receiver is going to come inside and then work here. The other receiver, he's doing really what you call an out and up, meaning he's going to work himself to the flat over here and then turn that thing up and get upfield. So this corner is in a bad position. He can't let the second through the zone get past him. And we'll see that this route starts to come open right about there. It is as this cornerback squeezes this post route, this route is here. There's somebody open. This route comes home. This is why pass rush is so important, because it doesn't matter. Quarterback can't throw the football when he's on his back. And when we get a look at the end zone view, I mean, this is a coverage sack, the first real coverage sack that we've seen. This is a 4-man rush. JIHAD Ward ends up getting this. He's doing a rip move here on the center, works his way to the guard. Now, right here, Flacco's got to figure out something. He's got to get rid of the football, maybe throw it short, do something, get this thing moving. He's just holding on to it, not under a ton of pressure, pump fakes, and then Ward ends up coming up with the sack. So a 2-minute coverage sack for the Vikings, and that's just sack 2 of 3 inside of 2 minutes and 5 seconds. And finally, here it is, end of the game. This is why you build a lead. This is when defensive linemen get paid, because all these sacks count. They know they're going to throw it. But same defensive look in the backfield. Same thing with Harrison Smith kind of working to rob the middle of the field. But again, you're seeing a route kind of coming open here late, which is the part that's so interesting, right? Is just that there are opportunities down the field, but when a quarterback is under duress, he is just not going to be able to see him. So no matter what coverage the Vikings do, Jonathan GREENARD comes up with his second sack of the day within a 2-minute time span. And this is just him one-on-one on the outside. The key here is the space with which he has to work, right? You have the guard who's blocking down on JIHAD Ward. This creates a huge area here and on the outside for GREENARD to work. So he's got a lot of room. You give this guy a lot of room, he's going to be successful. But once again, down the middle, long arm, pads low, right? Gets that lineman to really set himself right here with those long arms, and then he just pulls those things away. Watch, he'll pull those arms away, get underneath, get to the shoulder, get that inside leg through. Flacco has nowhere to go with this football. He doesn't know really what to do, and GREENARD comes up with sack number 2 on the day. All right, so onward we go to Jacksonville, and if you remember this game, not a great offensive performance. This was a game that Darnold threw 3 interceptions. The defense really saved the day here. Outside of one drive, the defense held up and did a great job and just gave our offense some time to get things together. So, but we're back to giving the looks, confusing the offense, and finding ways to create mismatches with just by alignment and assignment. And on this first play, you're seeing what? You're seeing 0 blitz right here. You've got 8 defenders on the line of scrimmage. This looks like 0 on the back end. Now, as we get closer to the snap, you're going to see Harrison Smith dropping out, but you still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 7 defenders on the line of scrimmage. Now, what's amazing is that the Vikings end up playing Tampa 2 out of this. The versatility of the guys underneath, the ability for anyone to really drop in any spot causes a lot of problems for the offense. So watch this play unfold, and as this coverage unfolds, right when we get to the top here, this is Tampa 2, right? You just have Josh Metellus, who's really the deep middle defender. You have a corner here, a couple underneath hook defenders, 2 safeties up on top. This is Tampa 2. How they get to it out of that kind of look, it confuses offenses, it causes problems, and really what allows to happen are things like this. And when we get to the end zone, you're going to see a number of different things that we have to really talk about. Number 1, this tight end. He doesn't get a free release. He checks before he goes. That's a big deal because now the tight end can't get into a route. It's impossible for him to get down the field if he's checking at the line of scrimmage. The other thing that it's doing is reading the protection by knowing this center is going to turn over here to Van Ginkel. And that means these two are going to try to stay big on big. And what that allows is CASHMAN to get up the middle. Now, the running back, Tank Bigsby, gets to him, but it's a mismatch. That's the mismatch that Flores is looking for. And he's going to design this thing to take advantage of it. So once this football snapped, this is what you love to see. You have two big bodies on one defender, one pass rusher from the outside. These other guys are dropping into coverage. So that means the check by the tight end was wasted. One of these two offensive linemen wasted. You have everybody else turning over this way. You have CASHMAN just with a huge gap running up the middle, one-on-one with Bigsby. A couple things happen here. First of all, great job by CASHMAN getting his pads low and collapsing this pocket. The second thing here is Van Ginkel on the center being able to close this so the quarterback has absolutely nowhere to go in this situation. CASHMAN comes off and gets the big sack. So again, it's alignment and knowing protections that gets these defenders free in one-on-one with potential pass blockers. Whichever one is the best matchup, that's where you go. So sack number 2 of the Jacksonville game, a little bit different. This time, the Vikings are showing not 7, 8, 9 guys at the line of scrimmage. This is regular 4-man at the front, but they're giving that 4-man rush look. They're still going to send 5. But pay attention to Josh Metellus here. Watch him moving around. He's just trying to get the attention of the quarterback because in reality, what they want to do is send Ivan Pace. And this ends up being a 5-man rush with a cover 2 type umbrella behind it, right? You have the 2 safeties deep, corner, and then a couple underneath guys. You're a little short, right, when you're rushing 5, so somebody's got to get there. You see the middle of the field kind of coming open right here, but by the time these routes come open, we already have pressure on the quarterback. So it's another brilliant job of showing one thing and giving the offense something completely different. Now, when we see this from the end zone, you'll see exactly why this works. Okay, so what Jacksonville wants to do here is they're turning this line this way. This center is coming this way, so you're getting 3-on-2 on this side. What does that mean? That means you're going to have big on big here, and then you're going to get a linebacker again in the middle, one-on-one with this, in this case, Travis Etienne. So just taking advantage of the running backs and protection. And you'll see also the confusion it creates because this right tackle is not quite sure what to do. When this ball snapped, right, he's stepping out to see what's happening here with Jonathan GREENARD. GREENARD's kind of messing with this wide receiver a little bit. So he decides, you know what, because of that, I'm going to redirect inside. But then also the running back steps up, and they're both in the beginning right there. They're both going after Ivan Pace. So one of them thinks they screwed up. What's interesting is right after this, the tackle decides, oops, yeah, I'm in the wrong spot, so I got to get out here and get on GREENARD. And then Etienne thinks for some reason he needs to get over here. What happens? They turn Ivan Pace free, and he's right in for the sack. So, again, creating confusion with those guys up front, getting the center to turn away from the side that you're blitzing from is integral in what Flores wants to do. And finally, the third sack of the Jacksonville game, you're going to see the Vikings are lined up in a look pretty similar to what you saw before and give Jacksonville something really completely different than what they had already seen. In this case, we saw it before. You have Josh Metellus up here. He's, moving around, and they end up deciding, we're going to walk Ivan Pace up to here and then just send him. But what it does to this offensive line and to the protection is all that matters. So out of this look, you're thinking, okay, we get them getting a 4-man rush here, right? You have Metellus walking up, Pace walking up. Which one of those guys is going to go? And this case, GREENARD's dropping out. So you're only getting a 4-man rush. You can play true, any type of zone behind it. In this case, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 under with 3 deep over the top. But at the confusion up front, when we see the end zone, we're absolutely going to, you'll understand and see what's going on here. These guys up front have had problems all day. And in this case, they're just going to gap protect this line all the way across underneath. And that means the backside, the running back has to really seal the backside. And they just don't get it done, right? So offensive line, there he is, Pace screwing around. The offensive tackle says, all right, this is my gap. I'm going to take him. But the problem is both sets of eyes right here, Bigsby at running back, offensive tackle, are looking right here. What they don't see is Van Ginkel coming off the edge. You don't see guys free to the quarterback too often. You have to do your work. You have to make a lot of things happen. You have to make grown men who get paid a lot of money to make mistakes in protection for this to happen. Van Ginkel unblocked off the edge and gets the 3rd sack of the day. So the confusion continues for this offensive line. And for Jacksonville, their running backs just had a long, long day. So on we go to Tennessee. And this is the first of 5 sacks the Vikings eat against Will Levis, 4 in the first half. And on this first one, here's that look, right? You're getting that bunch of guys on a line of scrimmage, 6, 7 guys, man-to-man type look, but you're actually going to get it. We've seen it over and over again where that's not what the quarterback ends up getting, but in this case, he absolutely does. So not much in the way of coverage to talk about on this play, in that once Levis gets to the top of his drop, you've got man-to-man coverage all the way across the board, nowhere to go. It's the end zone view and what you're able to take advantage of. We saw in the last game being able to take advantage of the running backs in Jacksonville. Well, the Vikings really do the same thing here again, and it's Tyjae Spears who messes this thing up. The way this play is designed, you're getting CASHMAN to come and pick this center to allow somebody else to loop around, but the center is going to turn to his right. And because the center is turning to his right, that means the running back has to work and find the most dangerous on the left side of the center, to the left of the center. And Spears just absolutely throws up a whiff right here. So you get the ball snapped. CASHMAN's number one job here is to get this center. He's trying to pick the center and let this loop come underneath. And Spears is looking for anything flashing. But again, the number count. You keep the tight end in for protection. It limits what you can do in coverage. You have 2 tackles blocking 1 defensive tackle, and now this little X stunt in the middle. But Spears runs right by both of the Vikings defenders. I mean, he's working himself back over here where you already have a defensive tackle and Tillery that's double teamed, and CASHMAN comes free. So just those different looks on the front, running different stunts, pursuing the weak point in coverage. In this case, it was Tyjae Spears. All right, we're still in the first quarter. Game's 0-0, about 5 minutes left to go in the first quarter. And the Titans have the ball 3rd and 4 from the Vikings 6. This is where the defense needs to step up, make a big play, and only hold Tennessee to a field goal attempt. Now, Coach O'Connell talks about being at your best when your best is required. This is it right here, right? The defense has to come up and make a big play, and it's a coverage sack. So you go from taking advantage to protection, getting mismatches, to here in a coverage sack. And this really, from a coverage standpoint, is a thing of beauty, because as this play develops, what you're seeing here is, number one, you've got a double team on the outside of Ridley, right? Their number one receiver. And the second part is how good Harrison Smith is coming here working underneath. And that's because they're trying to run that little bit of a double post. They're trying to run this tight end up and then here, and then the receiver underneath. But Harrison Smith is right there to work underneath. This guy's covered here on the outside. You got a couple underneath droppers, and only really a 3-man pass rush, but it hits home. So coverage sack all the way. Great job knowing the situation, nowhere to throw the football for Will Levis. and he ends up being sacked and being held to a field goal attempt. Now, from the end zone, we're going to get a couple other bits and notes here that you have to watch. Now, we talked about this guy over here before, right? Jonathan GREENARD. We talked about how smart he is. Here, he's getting that same double team look that we saw against Indy. The running back's going to come his way. And once the running back comes his way, what does he do? He spins and works his way inside. Now, what's going on the other side of the line is important too, because you have Jihad Ward, who's just really working himself up the middle. This guard is going to check here on Van Ginkel, who drops out, and then he'll work his way back in. And what does that leave? That leaves Patrick Jones out here one-on-one against the tackle Isaiah Prince, and he beats him and ends up getting the sack. So as this sets up, again, 3 guys on one here. You've got GREENARD working his way underneath, and watch, look at this body position right over here. Just pads low, leverage underneath that offensive tackle is 300 and some pounds now. He's light on his feet, but once he resettles, this is the beauty of it. Once this tackle recovers, gets that foot back, resettles, what does Patrick Jones do? He gives him the push and then the rip underneath, because Levis right now wants to throw this football here, but he can't. Harrison Smith's working his way in the middle. You've got Van Ginkel right here, who does such a great job of mirroring the quarterback. He has nowhere to go, pulls this thing down, and then Pat Jones working underneath gets the sack. So a great example of team defense, a great example of a coverage sack, a 3-man pass rush, and still getting home. So our third sack of Will Levis. This is late in the second quarter. Levis has some opportunities. He has some options, I think, here, but just doesn't get anything done, because I think he's totally confused at what he's seeing. But in this case, the Vikings are just really playing Tampa 2 again. You've got Metellus being kind of the Mike linebacker, deep middle guy. Great job by Cashman to work this deep to short. So Levis, he's staring this way, but he can get rid of that football. He can try to hit this out. He can hit this flat route. He's got a dig coming underneath here that's going to eventually work its way open, but he doesn't have time to get rid of the football. And when we see this from the end zone, you're going to see this is a basic, again, 4-man rush. And what works on this one is Pat Jones, again, working underneath on this guard, and that leaves outside over here Van Ginkel one-on-one with Petit Friere, the right tackle who's forced to play in this game. Didn't do a great job, but we'll see what happens. As this pass rush develops, you get Van Ginkel on the chip. Jones is working his way underneath. Levis feels this area right here opening up, right? So he's going to step up and maybe try to get something down the field. But watch what Van Ginkel is able to do with Friere. Friere has no idea where he is on the field. He has no idea that he's already too deep. But Van Ginkel with just a swim underneath, and boom, the huge sack of Will Levis. All right, so this next one, really, it's the very next play. This is a 3rd and 15 with 37 seconds left to go in the second half. And really, again, the 4-man rush getting to Will Levis. But one thing I want to point out is just what a great job this guy right here, Byron Murphy, does on this play, because he's the guy that they're trying to take advantage of. This is, again, a Tampa 2 type of a look. It's just Metellus is playing the traditional Mike linebacker, the deep middle defender. And what the Titans are trying to do is they're trying to run a receiver up the seam and then work another receiver inside and underneath. But if you watch Byron Murphy here, he settles and then he peeks. If you take a look, he's looking back. He's looking back over his shoulder right there just to see what that receiver's doing on the outside. And once he sees that receiver's head coming back, he knows that dig's coming underneath, settles underneath it, works his way. So there's absolutely nowhere for Levis to go. Not that he has a lot of time, but great job in coverage by the Vikings secondary. Now, this one is just when, things are just starting to get embarrassing for the Tennessee Titans. The right tackle, Petit Friere, again, you don't even see Van Ginkel in this picture. But watch what happens here with this right tackle, right? The ball snapped, the tight end even chips. So Levis is 3 steps into his drop, and Van Ginkel's not even in the picture yet. Once he gets in, though, you see Freire, the tackle, looking. He's like, all right, I'm going to have to work my way. You got the running back. They got 3 guys trying to pay attention to Van Ginkel, and he still finds a way to get through. Because right here, his job is maybe to crash and try to get into this A-gap. But what he ends up doing is, by doing so, freezes this tackle, plants the foot in the ground, whoop, swim move to the outside. Levis is trying to get loose. He can't do it. So just a great job by Van Ginkel. Try to have 1 guy block him, 2 guys, 3 guys. He still finds his way to the quarterback, and that's why he got himself a nice little contract extension. And finally, with the 5th sack of Will Levis in the day, we've got that same look we saw before, and it's really the same defense. You've got 8, 9 guys on the line of scrimmage, and the Vikings are going to play man, only rush 4, drop some guys underneath. Don't rush the guys that really are going to be blocked by offensive linemen. So Levis here, and you watch the other adjustment. Another adjustment I want to point out is here with the running back. I mean, he's up there in the what they call a sniffer position. He's close enough that he can actually take a sniff of the offensive lineman, but he's here to make sure any of these 2 running back or linebackers, or safeties hit that A gap. He's going to be right in there, provide protection, but nowhere, nothing doing here. Now, for when you sack a quarterback 4 times, this is the result. Levis right here has an opening. He's got this tight end on this out route right here. He could throw this football. The lane is there. The timing is there. But when you put enough pressure on a quarterback, they have a tendency to want to choke the football. And in this case, he just doesn't want to let go of it. The guy's open. He has the opportunity to throw and get that first down, but doesn't take advantage of it. So from a protection standpoint, this is all right here. Pat Jones working one-on-one with the guard and beating him. Now, just keep in mind, this year it's not going to be maybe Pat Jones in this situation. It's going to be Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave. So we are going to have some talented guys in the middle to be able to do this exact same thing, which is take a guard on, one-on-one, get him to settle, feel a little bit to the outside, great hands, comes through, almost gets that ball loose on Levis. So great job by the Viking defense to come up with 5 sacks. And you could see Levis's play deteriorate as the game went on, and that's what pressure will do. All right, moving on to the Chicago Bears. This is a first quarter, 0-0, 2:55 left on the clock, and the Bears have a 1st and 10 from the 11. So, you got to play some good red zone defense. Try to get the offense to kick a field goal, right? Basic 4-man rush. Nice job here on the coverage side, but you're getting that jet sweep kind of a look. And what's interesting is Van Ginkel here, once he sees, we'll see this from the end zone, gets a feel for that jet sweep type of a look. He widens and is able to jam the wide receiver. Now they're just trying to work a curl in here and then get the tight end behind, but great job. You have everything matched up here. Got a corner on the tight end. You're all set underneath. This leaves Van Ginkel and Caleb Williams one-on-one. Now, Van Ginkel does a great job of not really jumping here, but scrambling around and eventually forcing him out of bounds. Now, when you force a quarterback out of bounds behind the line of scrimmage, that does count for a sack. So, you have to bring him to the ground. You just got to force him out of bounds. But main thing here, watch Van Ginkel at the snap. When this jet sweep look comes, he's stepping immediately this way. What the Bears want him to do is to react inside, because that will allow the quarterback to fake this move and then get himself to the outside of the defender and then have the run or throw option. But in this case, he has neither, right? Van Ginkel able to get a piece of the receiver. Now they're one-on-one. Now, Van Ginkel doesn't jump. You don't want to leave your feet. Whenever you have contained and the quarterback pump fakes, you don't want to jump because he's just going to pull it down just like this and try to get around you. Van Ginkel able to chase him out of bounds. So sack number 2 of Caleb Williams comes in the second quarter. Not a lot to talk about here, but still some versatility things, some adjustment things that need to be pointed out. The first one is right here with Harrison Smith. Now, the Vikings are going to play cover 2 out of this. Normally, it's the corner that plays the outside and the safety plays the deep half. But in this case, you'll see Harrison walking up right here, and he just kind of gives a little look and a nod back here to the cornerback saying, all right, we're going to switch this thing. We're going to switch. And it really confuses Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams has options on this play, but he just doesn't reset himself and, throw the football. Again, it's 2nd and 2. He only needs 2 yards on this play. So at the snap, you're basically getting, with the running back and the tight end, of really kind of a flat, kind of a curl combination right here. So as Caleb Williams gets to the top of his drop, he can get this thing out to the running back in the flat. He can try to work and get to the curl. Nice job by CASHMAN to already see this and be breaking on it. So he doesn't go either way. Now, his number 3 read is right here. It's open. All he has to do is really set his feet and then go 1 to 2 to 3. And he's got something, right? The deep middle defender is Tampa 2. He's 5 yards off. You got a big cushion. Throw the football. But he just doesn't get rid of it and holds on to it for too long. Now, from the end zone, we're going to see the breakdown and in pass protection, and it's going to be right here. It's going to be Braxton Jones, the left tackle, because they sent another receiver over. You're going to see CASHMAN kind of get up, even widen himself out a little bit more. Once this ball snapped, I mean, he's not quick off the football. He's there to try to help create a dog pile here and not let those receivers break free. But once he recognizes what's going on, it's one-on-one in space, a little bit of a juke move, hands underneath, splits the 2 offensive linemen, and it's an easy sack. And finally, with the 3rd sack of Caleb Williams, you're going to see this is absolutely 100% on coverage, and we'll see kind of what the Vikings are going to do here. And they're going to throw a look at Caleb Williams that he just can't recognize, and it gets him to hold on to the football. So they're going to motion. They have 3 receivers on this side. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys on the line of scrimmage. We've seen this. We can get man to man. You can get all kinds of different things. In this case, you're going to get a version of Tampa 2, but you're going to see different guys playing different roles, meaning in this case, Cam Bynum is actually going to be the deep middle defender. Byron Murphy, who's normally the corner, he's going to work himself over here in the deep half. And, Josh Metellus will end up playing corner on this play, right? Deep to short, he's playing the flat. Now, Metellus got burned earlier in this game when they moved him and let him play a little deep half safety. But in this case, he's just playing the corner on the outside. And you watch Caleb Williams, as soon as he takes this snap and this thing develops right here, here it is. You got a deep half safety here. You got a deep half safety here. Again, this is our cornerback playing over here. Cam Bynum, really the Tampa guy in the middle of the field, hook defender. And then Josh Metellus out here playing deep to short. So normally the quarterback's either going to try to sneak this ball in here because this 7 route is completely taken away, or he's going to throw the football to the flat. And Caleb has absolutely nowhere to go. Now, why doesn't he have anywhere to go? Well, when we get a chance to see this thing from the end zone, probably one of my favorite sacks by GREENARD all year, but we get a chance to see the end zone, you're going to see why. And that's because the Bears, because of protection, are keeping extra guys in over here on this side, right? So send him over. The running back is going to work his way over to this side of the defense, and they're going to slide the line. That's kind of an easy way to do it. Everybody takes a gap with the offensive front, and now you have Jonathan GREENARD one-on-one against the tight end. This usually doesn't end well for offenses, but they have the running back there as well. Why is this important? These are 2 eligible receivers. They can work their way out in the route. So if Caleb has nowhere to go on the front side, he has no outlet because both these guys are blocking GREENARD. And GREENARD just does a great job here, just holding point. And then right here, both of these guys decide, hey, I'm going to release because Caleb needs somewhere to go with the football. But GREENARD, being the athlete that he is, doesn't jump, keeps his feet. And this is an overtime play. So a huge, huge sack in overtime, huge part of the game. The Bears make adjustments, but the Vikings are able to take advantage of it. And, showing that blitz, showing 5, 6, 7 guys on a line of scrimmage and giving all kinds of different looks, but ending up in the same style of coverages, that versatility that each player has to have on this defense creates plays just like this.